Balls. The industrialized world runs on balls. Big balls, tiny balls, soft balls, hard balls. If you feel you've just been clickbaited into something a bit more medical, I urge you to still stick around. I think you'll find balls can be quite fascinating. Bearing balls belong to a category of fundamental mechanical elements known as rolling element bearings. Commonly referred to by their systematic name as ball bearings, these are some of the earliest mechanisms devised by humanity. Derived from the wheel, they allow loads to be carried with very little friction, and in their most primitive form were just simple log rollers used to move heavy natural objects around. And while rolling element bearings seem like a simple, obvious idea, the modern high-end evolution of these logs can manifest as fully ceramic precision assemblies that can easily approach $10,000 each. Both logs and ceramic bearings rely on rolling. It's a seemingly simple mechanical action, but when you examine what is truly occurring, the physical phenomenon that reduces friction through rolling contact is quite remarkable. At the theoretical point of contact between a perfect sphere and a surface, there is zero relative velocity between the two surfaces, creating what's known as a rolling without slipping condition. This instantaneous point of contact continuously shifts as the ball rolls, meaning each point on the ball's surface momentarily come to rest relative to the contact surface before lifting away. Since each point on the sphere momentarily comes to complete rest relative to the surface, there's no sliding motion at the contact point that would normally create kinetic friction. Instead, the sphere experiences only static friction at this instantaneous point that helps maintain the rolling motion by preventing any slipping. This friction, however, requires much less force to overcome than kinetic friction would. The continuous transfer of contact points means that no single part of the sphere's surface is subjected to prolonged friction, reducing wear and energy loss. In the real world of rolling, microscopic surface irregularities create multiple tiny contact points rather than a single theoretical point. These surface imperfections mesh and interact with each other, creating a series of microcollisions and deformations. Furthermore, both the rolling object and the surface undergo slight elastic deformation under pressure, forming a small area of contact known as a contact patch. The variability of this deformation causes different parts of the ball to move at different speeds as it rolls, creating opposing forces and sliding motions at each contact. Overall, these forces cause a net bearing drag. The combination of surface interactions of both microscopic and macroscopic deformation also converts some of the rolling energy into heat through internal friction within the materials themselves. Also, any imperfections in the rolling object's shape or weight distribution create tiny wobbles and vibrations that further dissipate energy. Air resistance also plays a significant role in real-world rolling. As an object rolls, it must continuously displace the air in its path and overcome the drag forces created by air turbulence. Even within an enclosed environment, this air resistance gradually saps energy from the rolling motion. This drag is dramatically increased with the introduction of lubricants within a bearing system. Speaking of overcoming prolonged friction, I've recently tried Opera One R2 and it has been a game changer for my production workflow. Its streamlined interface and modern features make the creative process smooth and efficient. Opera One R2 is an evolution of the Opera browser that elevates the modern browsing experience through enhanced multimedia playback, reimagined tab design, and dynamic themes that adapt to your content. Let me show you what I mean. When I'm performing research, I used to have a pile of scattered tabs. Now with tab islands, I can group related tabs together and collapse them when I'm not using them. It's just a really natural way to stay organized when things get complex. See these subtle underscores beneath the tabs? The darker ones show you most recently visited pages. When my research gets a bit over the top, these tab traces help me quickly retrace my steps back to important reference material. Sometimes I need to compare information or work on a document simultaneously. Opera's split screen is brilliant for this. Simply drag one tab down and you've got two tabs tabs open side by side. No more painful jumping between windows. And here's something that really sets Opera apart: the floating music player. I can place my music controls exactly where I want them, even outside the browser window. It's perfect for staying focused while keeping my music going. And while we're on staying focused, the Aurora theme gives everything a modern, fluid feel. Need something more personal? Well, the entire theme of your browser can be changed, including animated backgrounds, UI colors, browser sounds, and more. For when I need quick calculations or get sucked into a tangent, I just bring up Aria, Opera's built-in AI tool. Aria can also create an image thanks to its image generation feature, and even pull information from an image. Opera One R2 has completely streamlined my technical research workflow, so give it a try. Check out the link in the description below. These real-world physical limitations of rolling are directly tied to the specifications that define bearing ball manufacturing, and ultimately their cost. Fundamentally, bearing balls are defined by their dimensional tolerance, sphericity, surface quality, batch consistency, and material properties. From this, bearing balls are graded by their geometric tolerances and surface quality, ranging from G2000 to G3, where the smaller the number, the higher the precision. Bearing ball grading standards tend to center on ISO 3290 as the primary global reference, with national standards such as ABMA, DIN, JAS, and GBT harmonized to its core specifications for grades G3 to G200 for tolerances and quality. While regional standards maintain some unique testing and documentation requirements, they all share a basic level of global manufacturing compatibility. A bearing ball specification starts with its nominal diameter, which is defined by its intended theoretical ball diameter. From this, the actual diameter variation of the produced bearing ball is determined by measuring the distance between two parallel plates placed in contact with the ball. The difference between the largest and smallest measured diameter in relation to the nominal diameter is the ball's nominal diameter variation. Bearing balls are typically used in multitude within a bearing assembly and must factor in the inherent manufacturing variations between the individual balls. A metric known as the lot diameter variation is used to quantify this by taking the difference between the average diameter of the largest ball and the smallest ball of the lot. It is possible to have a ball meet dimensional requirements but not be round, so its sphericity must also be quantified. Measuring deviation from true roundness is done using a linear transducer and a test force against the fixtured ball's surface. As the ball is rolled, the surface displaces the transducer, and from this, a polar graph is produced. From this data, a circumscribed circle is calculated. While several methods exist for this calculation, the most common technique is to apply the smallest circle that can encompass the data points. The ball's sphericity is then defined by the difference between this measured circle and the nominal ball diameter. Surface roughness for bearing balls is commonly measured by analyzing microscopic surface irregularities using either a diamond stylus profilometer or a laser scanner that moves across the surface, recording vertical deviations. Roughness average is the most common method used, with every peak and valley along a sampling length being used to calculate an average absolute distance from an established mean line. A lower roughness average value indicates a smoother surface. Lower roughness levels reduce wear, fatigue life, minimize noise and vibration, and reduce rolling resistance. By passing surface roughness data through a low-frequency pass filter, waviness can also be determined. These periodic larger surface deviations can cause vibration, uneven load distribution, and premature bearing failure. While waviness isn't directly specified in most specifications, it is an important derived metric for quality control in manufacturing. The bearing industry relies primarily on chrome steels, with 52100 being the most common alloy. This is mainly due to its low cost, excellent hardness, and wear resistance, though 440C stainless steel is sometimes used when extra corrosion resistance is needed. Steel bearing ball manufacturing begins with a wire of metal that is approximately the diameter of the finished ball size. A machine known as a heading machine stamps the wire into two hemispherical forms, producing rough balls from the wire stock. This ball stamping process can be done either hot or cold, depending on the metal and the desired properties. The raw balls are then fed between two hardened steel plates called roll plates. These plates have grooves machined into them that guide the balls around in a circular path. As the balls travel through the groove, they spin and tumble, breaking off any rough edges while getting squeezed progressively into a final spherical shape. This ball squeezing also compresses the metal, giving them a very hard surface. Through a carefully selected combination of pressure, rotation speed, and duration, a consistent batch of balls are produced. Next, the balls are hardened further using heat treatment and are then run through a descaler and then a second rail plate process that uses a fluid-based abrasive to grind and further compress the balls to within 15 microns of specification. A final low-pressure, less abrasive cast iron rail plate lapping process is then used to polish the balls and hone in their final dimension and surface finish. Additionally, chemical processes and gentle lapping may be used to further bring lower-grade balls into specification. From here, the final bearing balls are inspected and measured with a level of sophistication matched to their intended grade and cost. Lower quality balls may simply go through a simple go-no-go mechanical test, while high-end balls are manually dimensioned and tested individually to ensure grade specification compliance. At the highest levels of precision, bearing balls are even manually grouped and selected for their intended position within a bearing system. Traditional chrome steel bearing balls tend to lose metallurgical stability around 260 degrees Celsius or about 500 degrees Fahrenheit. And in these operating environments, tougher balls made from carbides are used. Carbides are compounds that are made up of carbon and a metallic or semi-metallic element. These classes of bearing balls are made by the powder metallurgy process, where molten metal is atomized into fine powder particles, which are then cooled extremely rapidly. This rapid cooling prevents segregation of alloying elements. These uniform powder particles are then compressed under high pressure and temperature, often around 1000 to 1500 atmospheres at 1100 to 1200 degrees Celsius, in a process called hot isostatic pressing, to create fully dense material which is roughly shaped into ball stock. The material now possesses a microstructure of very fine, evenly distributed carbides, only a few micrometers in size. The rail plate forming process is then used to produce the final bearing ball with a more precise heat treatment process before final forming. The high-speed tool steel alloy used in the bearing balls contain high amounts of vanadium, tungsten, and molybdenum. Some common powder metal-based bearing ball materials are Rex 20, CPM Rex 76, and CPM T15. These carbides allow for exceptional wear resistance and hardness stability at high temperatures, with some of these alloys maintaining their hardness at temperatures up to 593 degrees Celsius or around 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. These properties would be impossible to achieve through conventional alloying methods, because these elements would form large irregular carbides in cast material. For more extreme environments, ceramic bearing balls are chosen over metals. These super balls can handle much higher temperatures and continue to work perfectly at temperatures above 700 degrees Celsius or about 1290 degrees Fahrenheit. They never rust or corrode, are chemical resistant, and are inherent electrical insulators, all while having exceptional load capacity and fatigue life. They're about 60% harder than steel bearing balls, while weighing only about 50% as much as steel balls of the same size, making them ideal for high-speed applications. Silicon nitride is the most common material for ceramic bearing balls, though other ceramics may be chosen for specific properties. Zirconia, for example, offer better toughness at the cost of wear resistance, while alumina is less expensive but more brittle. Silicon carbide is typically used when extremely hard balls are needed, though with a compromise of higher brittleness. Ceramic bearing ball manufacturing begins with an incredibly fine base ceramic powder with a particle size of 200 to 500 nanometers. This powder is carefully blended with special additives called sintering aids that help it compress into a solid form. The mixture is then pressed into rough ball shapes under extremely high pressure. The compressed powdered ball is then heated to 1700 to 1800 degrees Celsius while being squeezed under the intense pressure, sintering them. During this heating, the sintering aids melt and help the silicon nitride particles bond together, creating a dense structure of interlocked needle-like crystals. A process similar to rail plate grinding and polishing is used to bring the ceramic balls into specification, though with the key difference of using abrasives suitable for the hardness of ceramics, such as silicon carbide and diamond-based abrasives. The final inspection process is similar to steel balls, though with the addition of ultrasonic testing for internal flaws in high-end applications. Standard steel bearing balls can also be coated to provide surface properties that supersede their base metallurgy. Diamond-like carbon or DLC coatings represent a significant advancement in bearing technology, combining the best properties of both diamond and graphite structures. When applied to conventional bearings in microscopic layers just a few micrometers thick through physical vapor deposition, diamond-like carbon creates a unique hybrid that merges the durability of steel with exceptional hardness and ultra-low friction characteristics. Diamond-like carbon also exhibits a unique run-in behavior, where a small portion of its surface transforms to create a low-friction contact zone, protecting the steel counterface while maintaining the coating's inherent hardness. This self-adapting characteristic creates ideal, solid lubrication conditions, making DLC-coated bearings particularly valuable in demanding applications where traditional lubrication methods may be insufficient or impractical. In modern bearing applications, balls roll with surface speeds anywhere from 1,500 to 4,500 meters per minute with simple grease and oil lubrication systems, and up to 12,000 meters per minute in extreme applications that require highly controlled lubrication and cooling. For example, a single 6mm bearing ball within a turbocharger near peak RPM can easily experience 114 kilograms or about 250 pounds of centrifugal force and generate around 200 watts of heat purely from friction. Bearing balls are constantly being pushed to more extreme realms of operation through developments in material science and manufacturing techniques. New technologies like nano-engineered surfaces are being explored that create microscopic textures that trap lubricant more effectively, dramatically reducing friction and wear. Other areas of research include advanced ceramic composites incorporating graphene that introduce self-lubricating properties. Emerging technologies in bearing design suggest the potential for speeds reaching 24,000 to 25,000 meters per minute to occur within the next decade.